Hello everyone. Today's poem is Xiaoya,鹤鸣, a Xiaoya poem from the Book of Songs. The title, 鹤鸣, the crying bird singing. So it's very interesting that in the Book of Songs, the Zhou people wrote so many birds, but very, very few of animals on the ground. So you can see the Zhou people, they are more in favor of the birds rather than the animals on the ground. One thing is, I do believe they are in favor about to something above, because above is the utmost above is the heaven, is the God, and then the son of heaven, in other words, the king of Zhou. So that's the social layers. They are sort of the kings, nobles, and the high-ranking officers, and the people with royal blood, and then the normal citizens. And at the bottom social level is the slaves. And so they like to repeat again and again about those social levels in all their articles and poems. And for a noble person, or even for a normal citizens, they all look to above, to hear from their Lord, to look what their Lord is doing. That's the most important things. So that's is sort of the background when we're reading this poem. The crying bird is much bigger than goose with long neck, with long leg, and it's also a seasonal bird. In the autumn time, it flies to the South China. So we can imagine when the poet who is living in the area of the capital or today's Xi'an city, the time he saw the crying bird, either it's springtime or either it's autumn time. And the crying bird, generally speaking, is considered as the second senior birds, or second respectful birds among all the birds. The most respectful or the most high-level birds is the phoenix. But actually the phoenix is not a real bird. So the crane is the highest or with the most respectful birds in the real birds. Thus, it has a popular name, 仙鹤, the fiery crane. So that I do believe is because of its size and the elegance of its gestures, and of course the social level that the Chinese that considered the crane is the most respectful birds among the real birds. So that's one of the key background when we're reading this poem. The sentence in this poem is quite popular and made this poem quite popular as well. And I do believe it's because this poem describes a situation quite mysterious. Rather than most of the poems in the Book of Songs, it's about something of a daily life. Just like today's people, when we write something, even a very tiny aspect of a daily life. Let's see, I write something about the lunch. I write something about the on my way of commuting to the work and back to the work. I write something about I go to sleep. I write something, I'm playing my cell phones. So that's something quite familiar and popular among everybody. But this poem is quite different. Just like, for example, in the summer vacation, so I'm so relaxed and I'm so lit. I lead a life quite different than my normal life. And one day I just wake up. I saw something really strange, or I experience something really strange, and I write them down. And so most of the people, when they read the words I'm writing in my vacation, some of the strange thoughts or some of the strange things I noticed, they may not know what I'm really writing about, because I'm just write some of the very pinpoint or some very tiny details. I don't give the full story. I don't write the full story. So it's hard for us, the normal readers, to know what really this poem is writing about. But the feelings, I think everybody can has its feelings toward this sentence. So that's just quite like this poem about. It's writing something not about the daily life of the Zhou people. And thus, when we read it, we are not quite sure what he's writing about. And thus, it has so many different interpretations toward this poem through the Chinese history. I think it's okay. Maybe that's the purpose of the poet, to arouse different feelings in different situations. And or this might be the poem dedicated for that specific poet. He just write something on his own behalf and only for himself. But anyhow, everybody thinks this poem is a great poem with great words. We like it, and it also represents a lot of feelings, or reflected a lot of feelings other people shares. But these feelings, the shared feelings, is not necessarily the feelings when the poet created. So today, I would just explain the meaning of the sentence of the words, which is the most possibility. What could the sentence mean, or what these words might refer? But actually, I don't think who can really interpret it or know what the poet is really thinking about when he is writing this poem. Okay, let's get to the poem. 鹤鸣于九皋，声闻于野. The crown bird is singing at very, very high mountains. Its sound was heard everywhere. Be careful with the words 九皋. 皋 means very high mountains, and 九 normally is not figure in the classic Chinese literature. It means something with the highest level. So 九皋, very likely it implies, or it may even refers to the heaven. So let's review the sentence again. The crown bird is singing in the heaven. Why not? Because the crown bird is just next bird to phonics. Phonics is the God. Another way of saying in God. So the level of phonics is equivalent to God, to heaven. So that's these two birds, they are next to each other, they are levels. So the crown bird is singing in the heaven. It's okay. And the sound was heard everywhere. So of course, the sound was from heaven, and all the creatures on the earth, we can of course, we would hear the sounds from the heavens. Ye, the wild place, here it refers everywhere. Okay, the second sentence. 鱼潜于渊，或在于渚. The fishes was under or in the deepest pond, in the deepest lake, or the fishes sometimes it stays at those small islands, around those small islands. So here it's quite similar. The fishes everywhere. Some fishes is deep in the pond. Some fishes is around the small island. Yuan means the very, very deep in the lake. 渚 means the small island in the lake, in the river. 乐彼之园，爰有树檀，其下维萚. So I feel so happy in that garden. In the garden, there is very big, huge woods, sandalwoods. And the sandalwoods, it has the fallen leaves and the fallen branches. Okay, let's get to the words first. 乐彼之园, yuan, the garden. So here actually bring us back to somewhere people stays, because the garden is always the place people made and people lives. And in this garden there's sandalwoods. The sandalwoods is a very, very nice wood, and it's very hard, it's robust, and we can see many poems in the Book of Songs. It's called their chariot as 弹车. So that reflects the best chariot was made of the wood of sandalwood. So this wood is very special. It could implies to the noble people or even the Lord, because the very nice wood is the backbones for the chariot, the backbones for a house, or the backbones for the state, for the country. So that's a very normal metaphor in the classic Chinese literature. The very nice hard wood is the backbone. And 其下维柷, 柷 is the fallen leaves or fallen branches. So it gives up some of the dynamic pictures. Something is falling down. And also this double confirmed it's the autumn's time, because we have analyzed the crying bird was only seen in the springtime or the autumn time. And here we know this poem was written in the autumn's time, the best time. The harvest has been done, and the sky was so clear, and the air is fresh and cool, and the animals, the fishes are all in its best status of the whole year. So we review back of the first two pair of sentences. Actually, it describes it's a very, very good season in the autumn. The birds, or it implies the heavens, they are so comfort, they are so satisfied, they are so self-abundant, and the crying bird flies high and singing the songs in the most high heavens, and the fishes is swimming freely. Some are deep in the pond, some are swimming happily around the small island. So, and I'm a human being, so I'm staying in my garden. I'm so happy staying in this garden. The good harvest, the big woods, and even the fallen leaves, the fallen branches. It makes me cool, makes me happy. The second thought, these three pair of sentences actually reflected the fundamental philosophy of the Zhou people. The world consists of three layers. At the high above is the heaven, is the God, and at the below is the earth, is the land, and in the middle are the human and all the creatures. So as we are human beings, we should manage our life within these three layers. We should take a very, very close look on the heavens. We should take a very, very look on the earth we are standing on, because the heaven is the God, is the Father. It's everything. It's the things all we need is from the heavens, and as the earth is the things to feed us. Just like mother, the land, the earth is just like mother. The mother is feed us all the food. So that's also one of the essential part of the human's life, of all the creatures' life. And the human beings are living in a harmony with all the plants, with all the animals, because all the plants, all the animals, they are just as same as our humans. They are the sons of the heaven, of the earth as well, just like human beings. So that's the basic philosophy of the Zhou people, and that also lasts through the Chinese history. And this is a very, very basic philosophy, a little bit Tao, but the poet was such a genius. He picked the very best season that all the creatures is in its best status, and he write about the heaven, the earth, and the creatures in between. And with all these descriptions, the poet geniusly reassured the fundamental philosophy of the Zhou people, the heaven, the earth, and all the creatures in between. Okay, this last pair of sentences in the first paragraph, a little bit strange. 他山之石可以为错. The stones on the other mountains, it could be used as a tool. 错 is a tool for craftsmen to file down the jade articles, to file down the bronze articles. It's a useful tool. So this pair of sentences is quite simple in the surface. There's stones on other mountains. It could be used, or it's a very good tool to make jade articles or bronze articles. But as far as we know, the jade and bronze, the material of jade and bronze, or the articles of jade or bronze, was only dedicated for noble person in the Zhou dynasty. And so let's review the sentence again. There's very, very good tools on other high mountains. It could be used to make the articles for kings, for the nobles. What does it mean? So actually, I do believe it's a sort of the metaphor that means there is very, very good assistance for kings, for the laws of the states, and the poet himself may refer to himself, or he may refer to other peoples. I also have an argument on the character of Ta. So the character means snake rather than others in the very, very ancient time. Today it means other. So Ta Shan means the other mountains. So it's not a dedicated referring. We don't know which mountain he's referring. And in the very ancient time, the meaning is snake or something like snake. So we have a lot of this using in the Book of Songs, but normally it appeared as Wei Yi. And Wei Yi is used gesture of the snake to describe something, describe a mountain, to describe a line of people. People is walking in the zigzag way, or the mountain is such a long mountain. It's in the zigzag ways. So if the Ta was interpreted as the snake-like, or it's in the zigzag ways, so it's much more clear when the poet is writing it. He's looking at some of the mountains in his eyesight, and it's very delicate mountains over there, the mountains over there, the zigzag mountains over there. There is stones at there, and that stone is a very, very useful tools to assist the kings, to assist the laws of Zhou. So this make the poem quite different, because in the normal explanation, the poet doesn't refer to any dedicated person by referring the stones, because the stone is not dedicated. The stone is somewhere in that meaning. And if we interpret the Ta as zigzag, as an adjective, the stone is very delicate on the South Mountains. Just remember where these people lives. 20 kilometers south to them is big mountains. On that zigzag mountains, on the South Mountains, there must have a stone, or there is the stone. I saw that stone. They are useful. They are quite useful stones. They can help you to make the jade articles. They can help you to make the bronze articles. They are the perfect assistant to the kings, to the lords of Zhou. So basically, that's my interpretation for this poem. Okay, the second paragraph basically is almost identical. 鹤鸣于九皋，声闻于天. So the crying birds was singing in the high place. Its sound was heard by the heaven. Yeah, it's singing somewhere quite near the heaven, or maybe it's in the heaven. It's singing in the heaven. Of course, its sound could be heard by the heaven. And also, this also complies to the bird levels we have shared. The phonics is the god, it's the most high level, and the crying birds is the only next to the phonics birds. So the crying is also just like the high-ranking officers to the kings, to the god. So his sound is not only for the people, for the citizens below him. His sound is also for the kings, for the lord above him, because he's trying to do some good for the country through the kings. He make advice to the kings. He do some of the duties for the kings and for the good for the country, for the goodness of the country, for the goodness of the people. So that's the way the Zhou people they think about how the good governance it is. Everything is through the heavens, through the kings, but the kings need very good assistants, need very good officers. So the officers is in between of the citizens and the kings. His sound should go to the kings and also go to the citizens, the people, and him, both ways. Okay, let's continue. 鱼在于渚，或潜在渊. Okay, this is 100% identical to the first paragraph, but reversed the sequence. The fishes may swimming happily around the small island, or some fishes has deep dived in the deepest pond, in the deepest lakes. 乐彼之园，爰有树檀，其下维萚. This is almost identical to the first paragraph. The people feels so happy, so satisfied in this garden, in the land for the people, for the Zhou people. And in the garden, there's big, huge woods of sandalwoods. And under the sandalwoods, huge sandalwoods, there are crops. But basically, the crops, I think, has been harvested. This may refers to the harvested crops under that big trees. The second paragraph basically re-emphasized the philosophy of the Zhou people and emphasized the joyful life of themselves, and not only the happy life of the Zhou people, all the creatures between the heaven above and the earth below, they all lead a very, very happy life. And among those creatures, the crane is singing out loud high above. His sound was heard by all the creatures on the ground, and his sound was heard by the god, by the king of Zhou as well. So is that to say this joyful life was somewhat associated with this crime, or it's partially by this crime? Of course, that's the purpose this poet was writing. He's claiming himself, or he was feel such a pride for himself, for those high-ranking officers who has done a great deal, who has done so many good things for the people, for the king. 他山之石，可以攻玉. Though it's almost identical. The stones on that high mountain, on that zigzag endless mountains, that stone is the very, very good tool to make jade articles. So here it makes the meanings more clearly. I am the very, very useful assistant for the king, because the jade is the equivalent of king of Zhou. What a joyful and happy life, and what a proud this poet he is. Okay, that's the feelings, and that's the pride of the Zhou people, and that's the joyful life of the Zhou people. And from the atmosphere, I should say and also from the writing skills, this poem very likely was written in the mid-term of the West Zhou dynasty, because in the very early Zhou dynasty, the writing is quite primitive. Not only the sentence, the wordings, they just write something very, very practical and real, some real things. And this poem is writing something it's something there, but nobody normally will notice that, or even not to say to write it down with such a sophisticated, advanced writings and expressed such a joyful and happy feelings. So very likely it was written in the mid-term of the West Zhou dynasty. The culture, the economy was in its best status, and more people was educated, and they have the time, have the leisure to write more sophisticated poems. So this is a bit like the poems in the 北风, the 北 wind, and 魏 wind. Those poems are from the previous capital of the Shang dynasty, and that's the most developed area in the pre-Zhou dynasty, or even in the early Zhou dynasty. But as the year passed, finally the place of the Zhou capitals became a very, very prosperous, developed, and a very civilized place, and the people there, they could write much sophisticated poems than before. In my opinion, this poem could be the best poems about crime birds through the Chinese history. And in the later generations or later dynasties, people, I do believe there's many people write about crime birds, but there's not such poems as famous, as popular like this one. I just give you one of very, very famous poems, and that poem was written by Tao Yuanming, a very, very famous poet in the South Dynasty, and he borrowed the birds, the image of birds and the image of fishes from this poem directly. But let's feel how he write it. 羁鸟恋旧林，池鱼思故渊. So it's a very negative and the sadness feelings. The cattled birds, he want to go back to his old forest, and the fishes were in the small pool. He wants to go back to the big, deep, big lakes he used stay there before. So it's quite negative and very constrained. You can feel the feelings, not strained, not like the poem we have today. You look to the most high mountains and try to figure out the fishes in the deepest lakes. The mindset, the joy, the two poems so different, just like a crime bird is sitting high above and a fish is deep down in the pond. The best crime birds. 鹤鸣于九皋，声闻于野。鹤鸣于九皋，声闻于天. The best crime birds. Okay, that's for today. Bye-bye.